This meeting is now being live streamed. All right, there we go. We are live, at least on Instagram. Are we up on Facebook yet? Is the question. Waiting. Right. I cannot see. It looks like live on YouTube now at this point. Maybe not. All right. Well, we're live on YouTube at least, it looks like. You can hear me, drop a comment in. I don't know if Facebook ever came up or not at this point. There we go. Gosh, wow. This is too complicated. How are you guys doing today? So got some deals in the works right now, and so got one assigned in Shoreline not too long ago. It was early last week, I believe, or late the week before. So it's a pretty good cash flowing deal, duplex with two dadus in the backyard. So the play there is to bring the cosmetic fixes in, raise the rents, and then collect the cash flow. So we're gonna be closing on that one on Friday, and so got a few other deals in the works right now. Got one in Tacoma, which we got a few offers in on at this point. It's a single family house, and it's got the potential to build a dadu on the lot. And that new law kind of changes things a bit. I don't know if those of you tuning in from Washington, I'm assuming you heard about it, but basically what's been going on in the city of Seattle for a while now, where you can build a dadu in the backyard and then condominiumize it and sell the house and the dadu separately. You'll soon be able to do that just about anywhere else in the states, unless there's existing homeowners association regulations that prohibit doing that. So I know there's been a lot of people making money off of the dadu play in Seattle, and pretty soon you'll be able to do that in other locations as well. So anyway, that's why this deal in Tacoma is potentially interesting, because there's already infrastructure in place for this dadu. They already got the power set up there, and there's water to this building, but this building is pretty ancient, so it's going to need to be torn down. But you can potentially put another structure there in its place. And the other cool thing about it is that the seller got approval for making the dadu bigger than the actual house is on that lot, because the house is somewhat small. It's about 900 square feet. So they got approval, I think, for a 1,000 square foot dadu on that lot if they want to go ahead and build that. So that's the other cool thing about that deal. But anyway, got some other stuff in the works right now. The other challenge I'm having is trying to find builders. So I haven't done a whole lot of we haven't wholesaled a ton of vacant land before. So it's always a bit of detective homework, trying to find builders who might be interested in it, and then doing the due diligence on whatever's required with vacant land that isn't required for, wholesaling a single family house. Whole set of different parameters going on there that investors need to analyze on to determine whether or not something's a deal as far as like vacant land goes versus a single family house or multifamily. So yeah, I've got some other things in the works that I'm probably going to be reaching out to some of my closer buyers for to kind of get their input on. I've got a 33 unit deal in Linwood that I'm taking a look at right now and trying to determine what's the fair pricing on that project. It's in decent shape. Definitely will need cosmetic updates for sure at a minimum, but fully rented right now. The rents haven't been raised in 10 years on this property, but it's currently bringing in $750K in revenue right now as is. So I try to work the creative finance angle on that one, and she just needs out of it. She's got a 1031 exchange going into another property, and she just needs to cash out. So the creative financing isn't going to be an option there. And then we're working on a deal right now, a commercial deal in Tacoma. I think it's a 3 or 4 units. There's 4 units in this building currently. It's about 3,000 square feet, a little over 3,000 square feet. Will need a lot of work for sure. Only 1 unit is occupied, bringing in $800 a month. So there's really not a lot of cash flow there at the moment, but the seller seems pretty motivated. So I'll be running this by a few people and try to get their input on it. I don't want to send it out there until I've got all the numbers dialed in and really figure out if this property is a deal or not at the price that the seller is saying that they need to get it at, especially given the amount of work that it needs. So anyway, feel free to jump on the Zoom call, anybody that's out there, or drop your questions if you have any into the Facebook live chat or YouTube or Instagram. Okay, so Lisa is asking, oh, wait, there you go. Sorry, I didn't see your comment there. The pinned comment was the pinned comment for the Zoom call was blocking the comments below that. So how do you think the ADU law is going to affect single family housing prices? So I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a bit of the Wild West initially. So I think the jurisdictions have a bit of time to figure out exactly how they want to implement this new law. I don't know if it's 6 to 12 months, something like that. And then it's kind of going to kind of be off to the races. So anybody that has got a lot that's big enough to build one of these and is in a neighborhood that will allow it, because that's the thing, I guess the jurisdictions can't dictate it. But if an existing homeowners association already prohibits an ADU or DADU from being built on that property, the law, from my understanding, can't override that. So there's some neighborhoods where they won't be able to do this. But yeah, I see this pushing up prices potentially, especially on those lots where you can do this, especially outside the city of Seattle, right? Because that's where it's popular right now, since you can sell those off separately. So we'll see a lot more people probably taking advantage of that outside of the city of Seattle. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what the repercussions of this are, because if they can't dictate any parking requirements or anything like that, And if everybody pretty much takes, say the city of Seattle's basic, pre-approved value plans that they already have in place, are all these other cities going to end up with daddies that look like the ones that are inside the city of Seattle? So I don't know. But I think there's no question that there's still long term, there's still a housing shortage, right? So that's something that this law is trying to address, right? So anyway, what are you working on, Lisa? What do you got going on these days? And anybody else, feel free to drop your questions in the comment section here, or hop on the Zoom call as well. But the other thing that we got going on, besides a few vacant land deals, so we've got potential fourplex in Olympia that we are working on right now. We'll need a bit of work. It's fully rented at the moment, but below market, and then it's gonna be a bit of cosmetic updates to get it to top of market rents, but something that is bringing in decent cash flow, at least right now as is. So you wouldn't necessarily have to get the tenants out of there in order to get the property in better shape. So thing is, that deal is definitely not going to be burrable. So I know a lot of my buyers are looking for deals that they can burr, and that is not going to be one of them. Definitely a walk-in with some equity, but not enough to be able to refi and get all your capital back out when all is said and done. So Lisa's trying to find her next flip. You've been putting in offers like crazy. What does like crazy mean? How many offers a day are you doing? And where are you looking exactly? What areas are you looking? Because maybe somebody on the call here might have something off market in an area that you're looking. And are you just looking at, have you just been putting offers in on MLS deals, or are you looking off market as well? How many offers a day? Not that much. Okay. So within an hour drive of Shoreline. Okay. And so what price points are you looking for, and what level of rehab are you comfortable taking on? Yeah, when I was buying stuff in Oklahoma City, I was doing 100 offers a month. We were cranking them out down there. So I had Podio all set up, like everything from the MLS was feeding into our Podio CRM. And then my assistant would go and put a rough comp on everything that came in. And if it was initially priced at like 80% of ARV, like right off the bat, if it was listed at about 80% of ARV, then I would go and like manually comp it myself. And if it looked like a deal at that price or close to that price, then we would submit an offer for it. And I had all the automation in Podio set up where I could say, okay, I like this property. I just click a button in Podio. It generated an MLS offer, filled in everything for me, and sent it to DocuSign automatically. I signed it. DocuSign would send it back, upload it into Podio. It would email it automatically to my agent that I was working with that was submitting all the offers on my behalf. And so we were cranking out offers like crazy for a while there. So and we were getting deals locked up that way. Yeah, we were probably doing 3 deals a month, just getting deals off the MLS like that. So looking for under 5 100K, no complete trap house. All right. So, all right. So has it been just MLS stuff that you've been putting offers in on? And are you just getting shot down on everything, or are you even getting counter offers back on stuff that you have going out there? So that's the thing. I've kind of pulled back from doing MLS deals for a bit because it seemed like even stuff that had been listed on the market for months, everybody was just so unrealistic about what that property was actually worth. And pretty much, and I don't know, this is probably a mindset thing. I didn't, got a lot of rejections and felt like it probably wasn't worth my time going after deals on the MLS, but there's probably still deals to be had there. But it just seemed like the stuff that was priced at a bit of a discount was priced at a discount such that if you came in and did the rehab, it would pretty much be at retail price when all was said and done, right? So that seller was counting on somebody coming in and living in the property when they were done. There was no margin in there to flip it. So the key is finding those sellers on the MLS who are actually motivated. So okay, MLS and the auction. Oh, I haven't done the auction in like 11 years or so. It was probably no more than that now. It was 2011 was the last time I did the auction, and it just seemed like everything at the auction was just getting bid up like crazy. There was a hedge fund came in, started buying up everything, paying almost 90 cents on the dollar, and at that point, it's not worth the risk if you can't get in there and see it. So Lisa, on the MLS deals that you're doing, are you actually calling like the listing agent first to kind of, or are you working with an agent and are you calling that listing agent and having a conversation with them about what's going on with that seller's story and the property and what their motivation level is? So I'll tell you a story about a deal that I wholesaled on the MLS. I can't remember if I told you about this one, Lisa, but I don't know if everybody's heard about this one or not. But we were talking to this agent. That property was listed at 380, and okay, so you're working with an agent that tries to feel them out. Okay, yeah, that's good because yeah, motivation is important in trying to determine what their situation is and how open they are to taking something of a discount. But what I find is that you're going to have a lot of conversations in order to like uncover the ones that are truly motivated, and a lot of follow-up as well. Like that's the key also. Like maybe they're not motivated enough to take a offer 100K below the list price today, but a month from now they might be. If something has changed in their situation financially, or they're just not getting any interest on it. So the story that I got about one of the MLS deals I did, like this deal was listed at 380, and it was actually the listing agent that reached out to me about it. And so she wanted me to take a look at it and ask if I had any of my buyers that would be interested in taking it. So I took a look at it, and ARV was probably like 425, so priced at 380, and it needed probably 70K ish worth of work. So I said I could give you an offer on it, but you're not going to like what it is. So she's like, I just need an offer. So just tell me what it is. So I ran the numbers. I figured we could probably sell it to one of our buyers at like 220, 230, something like that, maybe. And so I went back to her and I'm like, hey, so I ran the numbers and we got to be like at 200 on this. And I just like cringed waiting for her to tell me to F off. And And she's like, oh, yeah, that's kind of where I thought we had to be at. So I was like, okay. So she's like, I'll go talk to the seller about it and I'll get back to you. So she calls me back the next day and she says, okay, how about would 206 work? That way it covers my commission. And she's like, I can represent you as well on the deal. So I was like, okay, done. So it just goes to show you this property was listed on the market at 380K and we got it locked up at 206. So, and I've been on the market for, I think, a little over 30 days at that point. So you just don't know until you talk to the listing agents, though. And that would be, I mean, if the listing agent hadn't reached out to me, I probably would not have called about that deal, right? Listed for 380, ARV 425 on the market for 30 days. I don't think I would have called on that one to find out the situation. So it was just fortunate that that agent happened to reach out to me, but still it just goes to show you that, you know, that thing was listed at 380, locked up for 206. That's, you know, 175K or so off the purchase price. So we ended up wholesaling that deal at 220 and everybody was happy. I mean, the seller just did not want that property anyway. So they were happy to finally be done with it. Buyer got a awesome deal. We got paid, agent got paid, you know. So, and this is kind of why it pays to work with real estate agents, right? Like, you know, they're the ones that are finding these sellers and they know what these sellers need, what they want. All right, so you got a deal that you put an offer day 20K, 25K less than what it was listed for. And how long has that one been on the market for at this point? I mean, the other thing to kind of think about too is what I'm seeing is like, I feel like now is a really good time to have a flip that's completed because there's like no inventory out there, especially I'm not seeing a whole lot of flips that when I'm running comps on deals right now, I'm not seeing a whole lot of my comps like that are recently renovated properties. And it seems like in a lot of these areas I'm looking at also, there's just not a whole lot for sale. Oh, they just listed it over the weekend. Okay, well, good luck on that one. Oh man. Okay, so you were the only showing. Okay, that's promising. That's promising. But does that also make you wonder where everybody else was on this deal? Why nobody else is looking at it? So, but yeah, anyway, I feel like right now is like a really good time to have a flip that hits the market because there just is not a whole lot. Thanks for your confidence. Uh, you know, doesn't that make you wonder sometimes? I've wondered that as well. It's like, why did I end up being the high bidder on this property? What does everybody else know that I don't know on it, right? But it could just be that yeah, I don't know. You never know. So anyway, yeah, so like I think having a flip that's going to be finishing up by summertime, I think it's going to be a pretty good time to have a completed flip. So hopefully you're able to get something locked up like ASAP that you're working on. Just trying to think if I've got anything coming up that might be a good fit for what you want to do. Oh, it's a condo, higher HOA, but HOA covers water, sewer, garbage. They usually do. Man, I just invested in a condo flip and that thing is not selling, has not been selling. I think the HOA is giving potential buyers heartburn. Haven't been that easy to work with. They're very forthcoming with information and stuff. So there's been a number of price drops on that deal, and this particular investor that I'm working with on that deal has sworn ever doing flipping a condo again. So that's just his experience, though. I don't know. I personally have never done any work on a condo. I lived in one for a while and ended up having a special assessment on it, which hurt badly at the time because I was unemployed. But the homeowners association sued the builder on the property, and then we had to raise the homeowners dues to cover all the legal expenses on that. So it's a 3-week flip. No, that's good. Your agent's been in touch with the HOA, so okay, at least they're cooperating. Yeah, I know some HOAs can be a pain in the ass to work with. What do you think the profit on that deal would look like, and how are you going to finance it? I actually do have a condo deal I'm working on in Edmonds, that if the seller is open to actually selling, I could probably send that your way to take a look at. So that should be a pretty easy flip as well. And I was actually running comps. There was just another flip in that complex, and it was one of my buyers that flipped it. He just crushed it. He made like more than 100K. He got this deal at a stupid low price. I'm like, so he ended up making more than 100K on flipping a condo, and that couldn't have taken him that long to do. Oh, nice. 52K. Okay. That's pretty good for a condo. How are you all cash? Or are you going to be using hard money on that? Yeah, this is the whole thing too about hard money lenders and wholesaling, and maybe I should put together some videos about this, but like, you got to make sure you vet your lenders or your buyer's lenders when you're doing a wholesale deal, because not all hard money lenders are wholesale friendly and easy to work with. So we have had a number of deals, and I've learned this the hard way, blow up, or it was deals even that I was buying personally where the hard money lender, I didn't realize it going into it, but they didn't want to finance the assignment fee. And I was buying these particular deals from wholesalers, and I've been on the other end of that now, where I'm wholesaling a deal, and the buyer's hard money lender ends up not wanting to finance the assignment fee. And so I've had deals where the buyer didn't know this until a few days before closing. They get the settlement statement, and they're like, wait a second, why is the cash to close so much higher than I was expecting? On one deal, it was 40K higher. And the buyer was like, okay, I'm out of this deal. Either you're going to drop your assignment fee to help me cover this, or I'm just gonna be out, and I want my earnest money back. And so that was a delicate conversation. Okay, so you're using hard money. Who's your lender? Okay, so you had to ask them up front. Who's your lender by chance? Is it so I know like Flynn's really good about it. Flynn Family Lending, East Side Funding. Okay, East Side, I have heard mixed things about them. So you're okay though, since you're not buying this deal from a wholesaler. But I think they cap their assignment fee at like 5 or 10% or something like that. So if the assignment fee ends up being more than 5 or 10% of the purchase price, they're not going to finance it, I don't think. So I know there's a few lenders that won't do that. So anyway, this buyer's like, so I got all this extra cash I got to bring to closing. So either you're going to cut your assignment fee so we can get this deal done, or I'm out and I want my earnest money back. And so I had to go back and say basically, hey, like, hey, I'm really sorry about the situation that you're in, and I understand if you need to back out of this deal. Unfortunately, there's no financing contingencies in the assignment contract, so if you need to back out, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to get your earnest money back. But if you can't bring that extra cash to close, I understand we got somebody else, another buyer on backup that they're going to be ready to jump in if you're not going to be able to get this thing closed. And so then he came back and he's like, okay, well, let me see what I can do. And then lo and behold, a couple hours later, he's like, okay, I was able to scrape the 40K together that I'm going to 40K together. I'm going to need to get this deal closed. So that was a couple lessons there. First of all, what I should have done was ask who his lender was and then make sure that lender was okay. The assignment fee on this thing wasn't huge either. It probably was like maybe 12% of the purchase price, but it wasn't crazy. This wasn't a high price deal. And then, so that was one mistake on my part. I didn't ask who the lender was going to be and what sort of terms that they were going to be okay with as far as assignment deals go. But the one thing I did do okay on this is I didn't let him out, right? I didn't give him I didn't say, okay, yeah, you can, sorry about that. It didn't work out. Yeah, we got another buyer. We can get them plugged in and you can get out of the deal, right? So we were too close to closing at that point, really, to get another buyer that would be able to close that quickly. And that's kind of what he was trying to count on too. The fact that the seller was on a really tight timeline and that we probably wouldn't get another buyer that would be able to close that quickly, which we probably wouldn't have been able to do. So he was trying to muscle us a little bit in that regard, kind of banking on the fact that we needed him to close, and so he'd be able to get the price reduction he needed, so he didn't have to bring all that extra cash to closing that he wasn't initially anticipating. But we held our ground on that, and then he closed on time and saved a potential disaster from happening with the seller, because they had another property that they were gonna be buying. So long story short, make sure you verify your buyer's hard money lenders when you're doing a wholesale deal. Okay, so yeah, Lisa purchased wholesale, had to pay out of pocket a bit for the fee. Yep, I had to do that too. It was more than a bit. It was like almost 50K that I had to bring to closing that I was not anticipating. And fortunately, I had the funds to do it. It just wasn't something that I was planning on doing. So put a crimp on things for a bit, but it ended up all good. That deal was just a smoking deal. I was 2 duplexes I bought in Tacoma for 340K for both duplexes. This was in 2016. Wholesaler made 40K on it, so he had these things under contract at 300, which was crazy, and put maybe a little bit over 100K of work into them, and then they appraised together for like 650 at the time. And so I was able to burr them and get all my capital back out, and they barely cash flow though, or at least at the time they barely cash flowed. Now the rents have gone up a bit, but yeah, that was a pretty sweet deal. But I ended up having to pay the assignment fee, a good chunk of the assignment fee, out of pocket, and that was a rude awakening. If I didn't have that 50K like lying around, I don't know what I would have done on that deal. I don't know if I would have had time to try to get another lender lined up, or maybe a private investor on board to do a second position loan or something like that. But yeah, so those duplexes though are probably worth more than 900 now at this point. So I don't know. It's kind of the trade-off between like owning properties here versus the Midwest. They like cash flow a little bit Midwest cash flows like crazy, but appreciation here has been crazy the last few years. So, but yeah, so when does that agent then have to decide about that condo deal that you put the offer in on? Like you put an expiration on your offer where they have to decide by a certain point of time. Yeah, so I've not worked on any off market on market deals. So by tomorrow. Okay. All right. Well, fingers crossed that that they accept it. Is it something like an owner occupant could buy? Are you going to be competing with like actual end buyers for this deal? Or do you think it's only it doesn't need enough work where it has to go to like somebody that's gonna fix it up and flip it? Yeah, so I was just saying I haven't done as much MLS stuff this last few months just because we've been focusing more on off market, and the feedback we were getting on from most of the agents on the listings that we were calling about was that the sellers really weren't motivated enough to look at anything significantly below what the properties were listed at. So kind of changed priorities a bit, and over the last few months, and just been primarily focusing on off market deals. So I don't know, maybe at some point we'll get back to the full on automation, getting all deals into Podio, comped, and automated offers sent out to agents from Podio. We're pumping out, 3 to 5 offers a day and seeing what we can get locked up. But I mean, even the statistics on those were pretty crazy. So, 100 offers a month, maybe 5 or 6 deals out of those locked up, offers accepted. And out of those 5 or 6 deals, maybe we'd find buyers for, 3 or 4 of them. So won't qualify for conventional because the siding is damaged, but it's the current owner's issue, not the HOA. Interesting. So why is the current owner responsible for the exterior of the building, and how bad is it that it won't qualify for conventional? Then I thought everything on the kind of external to the structure and the structure itself was HOA's responsibility to take care of. Then I'm assuming you're going to be doing like all sorts of cosmetic updates to the interior as well then. And I guess the other question too, I'd be curious about, like, would this does the HOA have any restrictions on Airbnb and short-term rentals? Because that then opens it up to investors who might be interested in buying it once it's all fixed up. Oh, so they had a renter in there. Renter had a barbecue too close to the building. Okay, so was it like vinyl siding and it got like all warped and stuff? I've had that happen before at a previous house. Siding started to melt. All right. Well, I guess first of all, it's a good thing they had a renter in there, because it sounds like then at least the homeowners association is open to rentals. So that opens up another pool of buyers, when you're done with this, to investors who are looking for a rental. Oh, so, but they have a cap, so it has to go owner occupied once you flip it. Okay. Yeah, so this is the other thing about condos to kind of keep in mind too. And this was my very first flip. And if I had thought about it, I probably wouldn't have bought it. So when I did my very first flip, I kind of just dove right in and bought, I got 2 properties in one weekend at an auction at, in Bellevue when the auctions were over there. And one of them was a condo in West Seattle I bought for in the Delridge area that I bought for $60,000. And looking back, I was like, wow, that condo is, I don't know, worth hundreds of thousands of dollars now. But I bought this condo. And so, but what I didn't think about, okay, so there was a rental cap in place. HOA had a rental cap in place. What I didn't think about though is if I was not able to sell this thing, what's my exit strategy then? I can't rent it out, right? So I had this thing listed on the market after I fixed it up. So I bought it for 60. I put 9K into it, did some, minor cosmetic upgrades and stuff. It was in relatively good shape. Listed on the market, sat for a few weeks, and then I ended up staging it. And once it's staged, I got some offers in right away. But I was starting to get nervous there. 3 weeks. The market at that point was starting to recover as 2011. But what I didn't think about was like, oh my God, if I can't sell this thing, what am I supposed to do? There's a rental cap in place, can't rent it. Like, I have a hard money loan in place on it. So yeah, that's something I hadn't considered on a deal, is like, if you can't sell it for some reason and you can't rent it, and you have a hard money loan on it, what's the exit strategy there? You'd be moving in then. Yep, exactly. You'd be moving in if you couldn't sell it. So yeah, well, hopefully at that point you get conventional financing on it, and then yeah, you can move in. Yeah, so it was interesting because I used to live in the Delridge area like a long time ago, and but I was living in Issaquah then when I was flipping this condo in Delridge, and so I wouldn't want to move back there was the thing though, and we had bought our own condo in Issaquah, so. But yeah, so we ended up selling that condo for 90K. A month or so later. So it was all good. I guess the one other potential exit strategy would be to, if you could get long-term financing in place on it, and then there's a rental cap, you could potentially sell it on owner financing and do like an owner finance wrap around your existing mortgage. And that way, you're at least bringing cash flow in, you get a down payment, and then you're not like just bleeding every month, paying the mortgage and taxes and insurance on that thing. But it would require for you to get financing on it, right? You'd have to get out of the hard money loan that you had in place. So yeah, and then the other property I got that weekend, just coincidentally, was in Puyallup, a house in Puyallup, and that one I ended up losing money on. But yeah, as far as the thing that I don't know though is like if you'd be able to get financing on it if you weren't going to be living in it yourself, and if you weren't renting it out, like if the lender is going to give you a loan on something that you can't rent and you're not planning on living in. So I don't know if you'd have to apply for the financing as an owner occupant and move in for a short period of time or something. But yeah, so that would be kind of the other concern I would have about doing a condo deal right now, is just the exit strategies, because I have had deals that I have tried to sell and I end up having to keep them and rent them out. So, and I've had the opposite. I just had a deal where I was planning on keeping it and burning it, and the financing, they didn't appraise for high enough, and I couldn't get the financing I needed on it, and I ended up having to sell it. So the The idea though is like having multiple exit strategies on any deal that you're going into is super important because it might not always work out the way that you were initially intending it to, right? So just something to keep in mind as you're looking at BRRRR deals and flips and buying homes and all that stuff. The more options you have, the better. So yeah, I had the deal that I just had blow up. I posted about a reel about this. I think it was last week. Was in Oklahoma City. I bought this thing for 55,000. Put 30K into it. Put a tenant in there. Rented out for 1,000 a month. So I'm all in for 85K. Have it rented out for 1,000. When I had run my numbers, I figured ARV was going to be like 110 to 120. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be able to get my capital back out when all is said and done and, keep this as a nice BRRRR deal. And so went through, started the refi process. Appraisal came back at 85K. So my loan would be like 65K that I would be able to get on this thing. I was like, I do not want to leave that much capital in the deal. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna, and at this point in time, I was already thinking about kind of restructuring my portfolio anyway, just because these single family houses are not as passive as I kind of was hoping they would be. So anyway, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sell it at this point, right? It'll be like a long flip. I mean, it took me about 6 months just to get to the point of the refi. So I was like, I'm just gonna sell it. So talk to the property manager who is also a licensed agent, and they're like, yeah, we can totally list this for 115. Based on everything else that just had recently either sold or was currently listed. So put on the market at 115. Got a buyer within a few weeks at 115. They went through, they were getting their own financing on it. So they got their appraiser in, appraised for 115. I'm like, what the hell? Like, this thing just appraised like a couple months ago for 85, and nothing has changed at all in the market or with the condition in the last 2 or 3 months since this last appraisal. So anyway, it all worked out. It was basically a long-term flip, but this moral of the story there is just to have multiple exit strategies, right? Because if that deal didn't work as a flip, then I'd be having to try to see if I could get some other another lender in there, do another appraisal and all that stuff. So, but I mean, I had a deal in Indy that like similar situation. It was FHA financing. The problem with those is like the appraisal sticks with the property for another FHA buyer for 6 months. So if you get a low appraisal with an FHA buyer, another FHA buyer has to use that same appraisal. So there was a deal I was trying to sell in Indy and had a low appraisal come back from a buyer that did FHA, and most of the buyers in this particular neighborhood were buying FHA, and so that was a deal I just had to keep, right? So that was going to be a flip, and the appraisal came back low. This one was 110. I had the property listed for 135. And all the offers we were getting were just about all the offers we were getting were FHA. So ended up having to just take it off the market. I'm like, I'll just keep it for a year or whatever. So went through the whole refi process. This was, I don't know, a month or so after I pulled off the market, had it appraised for 135. And so pretty much ended up just burning that deal for a year before I put it back on the market. But I mean, it all ended up working out because like the market appreciated a huge amount. And a year later, I ended up selling it for quite a bit more than I originally had it listed for. So okay, so so your ARV is technically 20K lower than the market value. Okay, and then one of your Memphis properties, was that a property that you're trying to sell or a property that you were trying to burr in Memphis? I was like the appraisals are always the wild card on the burr strategy, like the refinance, right? Like nobody takes that, and or I guess if especially people that haven't done a burr deal, I feel like, and that's how the way I was when I did my first burr deal. You don't realize that the refinance part can be like the hardest part of this whole process. Those two Tacoma duplexes that I had mentioned, I uh, I had a W-2 job, but I also had a hedge fund that I was a partner in. And so the hedge fund showed a huge loss on my tax returns, which pretty much offset all my W-2 income. And so I wasn't able to qualify for conventional financing because my tax returns showed I basically made no money that year. And so I was having a really hard time getting financing for those duplexes, to the point where I was wondering if I would have to sell them. And it was ended up causing a severe amount of anxiety for me because as I hadn't anticipated it being this hard to refinance them, right? So it seems like, oh, well, finding the deal is the hardest part of the burr, or it's managing contractors. No, it's the freaking refinance in a lot of cases, right? Because you just things come up with the lender, and the appraisal is just a huge wild card on it. You just don't know where the appraisal is going to come out at. So I can't say it's been all bad. I mean, I've had appraisals come out actually on the good side. I had another burr deal where the appraisal came back like 120K higher than I was anticipating. So I ended up getting paid like 70K. So I acquired a property, got paid 70K out of the refi, more than I had put in. And this, I had an awesome $500,000 property in Indianapolis as an Airbnb. So it's not all bad with appraisers, but when it's bad, right? Because if you're having to pivot and change your exit strategy, it can be anxiety inducing for sure. Yeah, okay. So you're at least trying to sell, and you had to put a tenant in there and cash out to be able to move on. Okay. Yeah, it happens. And that's probably a thing to talk about, too, is like things that go wrong on these deals, and how do you handle those situations, right? Because I don't know, it seems to kind of be the exception that deals go exactly according to plan. Like it seems like coming in over budget's pretty common, taking longer than expected, pretty common, sale or refi not always going smoothly. But what do you do in those times when things don't go according to plan? How do you deal with it? How do you readjust what it is that you're doing? And everything will work out in the end, right? It usually does, at least, on these deals that had something really major, unexpected come up in a pretty large way. The not being able to sell a flip in Indy because of COVID, even though it was scary at the time, having to hold on to a property that I wasn't anticipating holding on to over the long term, over the last few years, ended up actually being a good thing, right? Because that property has now appreciated quite a bit. And if I had just sold it when I had wanted to originally sell it, I would have missed out on a few $100,000 worth of equity. So, even though things don't necessarily look like they are moving in a positive direction in the current moment, you just never know in the future how that might actually work out for you, right? So hopefully everything with that Memphis deal ends up, working out in your favor over the long term. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm gonna drop off now. I've got some buyers to call and a couple agents to talk to about some deals. If you got any deals that you're working on around Seattle, want us to take a look at it, regardless if you're an agent or a wholesaler, another investor or whatever, feel free to drop me a DM, and love to see if I can help you out, and running numbers on deals, see if they're actually deals, just having a second set of eyes on them or whatever. So anyway, guys, have an awesome day today. I'll be here. You know where to find me. And I'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye. And I'll send you the Edmonds one as soon as I get locked up, Lisa. All right. Take care. See you. Bye-bye.